What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Inside Team Shorty, where I talk about the reality, the truth, and everything behind the scenes of the sport of MMA. And this is, again, another episode with special guest, Loutrition. So, in the last video, we talked about overtraining and how nutrition plays a huge role into that. Given sleep and your schedule and being able to what you do in between all correlate together, but the biggest thing, and especially having him here, is nutrition. So, carbs and sugar is something that people always freak out about. They're always like, oh, whoa, you okay there?
Let's start that
Talking
again.
about carbs and sugar.
Start that again.
Nope.
Start it again.
Nope.
I
So.
don't know what that was. I think I'm dying. I think that's what that was.
Talking about carbs and sugar is a lot of people like to take them out of their diet because
Please proceed.
they like to go. I think the big fad right now. You're gonna
The big fat.
the big fad. I get it. I'm fat. Is keto. Everyone likes to do these different diets they see online. A big one right now is keto, even though it's been around for years. For some reason, it's kind of been huge. Or intermittent fasting and all that stuff.
The Atkins diet. But
Yeah, and there's so many things to it, but a lot of people always find carbs as a big problem, which technically, depending on the type of carb you're having and how much you're working out, will depend on what you should have, and again, all of it correlates together. If you haven't eaten all day and you decide to eat a burger, you like how I'm like, oh wait, let me test my waters here. If I haven't eaten all day, and I believe he's told me this, I could be horribly wrong. It might have been Dolce, I don't know.
certainly he's the go-to guy for
All day I haven't eaten. If I decide to have a burger and some fries, would that be a good thing?
If that was
Would
your
that be
only
okay?
meal
My
that
only
you had,
meal
yeah.
all day.
Yeah, I could buy that.
Alright, cool. So guys, don't eat all day. Burger, fries, intermittent fasting. That's it. Video's done.
Awesome, I'm going.
That's it. So when it comes to sugar and carbs, a lot of people like to take them out of their diet. The only problem is, especially as athletes, or even just people having a busy schedule, you need to be energized. That's your primary source of energy. Unless you're the whole keto thing, which most people aren't on ketosis. So
You're doing really well.
look at that.
Keep
I listen.
going.
You know
Wow.
what? Anyways, so back to Inside Team Shorty. So sugar and carbs. What's your standpoint on it? People can't see you, by the way, but what's just.
So, I mean, you were doing so well by yourself.
Oh, thank you.
I'm back,
that.
bitches.
Brittany's back.
Shave my head real quick. No, again, this is one of my favorite topics, right? For so many reasons.
We want a Hershey's.
I'm gonna have one, but that's beside the point. Anyway, carbs and sugar. Right. So here's the thing, right? And this is something that a lot of people need to understand and make a choice. The brain, muscle, and central nervous system's primary fuel source is carbohydrate. Like, I didn't make that up. That's not bro science, bro.
Look it up.
Right. Brain, central nervous system, and muscles, primary fuel source, carbohydrate. With that being said, fat is also a fuel source, right? So you have carbs, which sugar is a subcategory of carbohydrate. And then you have fat, right? And underneath fat, you have saturated fat and polyunsaturated, monounsaturated. The unsaturated fats are the fuel sources. The saturated fat is the fat that sticks to the arteries and makes us fat. But the other two, right, are fuel sources. So another fun fact, if you were to put carbs and fat into the body simultaneously, 10 out of 10 times the body will use carbs for fuel because it's the primary fuel source, okay? Now, the health experts, I get it, there's more to it, but we're just making it simple. If I were to remove carbs and only give my body protein and fat, then the body will make the adjustment and then utilize fat for a fuel source. People do it. This is the keto diet, right? People do it. It does work. It can be efficient. I know non-athletes that do it. And then I know athletes that do it. I have a lot of clients that I put on it for many different reasons, but this isn't a video on keto, and we can't make one, but this isn't a video on keto. This is a video on people who do consume carbs and sugar, right? Because that's where the danger zone is. First of all, sugar is one of the most addictive substances in the world, right? And when you understand that, and you understand that it's a really, really important fuel source, when you are training, even if it's once a day, And in your case, whether you're an athlete fighter or you're an athlete instructor, right? Or a coach who's holding mitts multiple times a day, you know, you're flying through your carbs and sugar. So the problem becomes you get stuck in this middle zone of you have to replenish and refuel, right? Like when you drive your car, you got to put gas in it. But because sugar is also very addictive, the brain just wants the sugar. And that's where a lot of athletes, you know, instructors, athletes, coaches even go wrong because they have a hard time, which this also ties into one of the other videos that we made about listening to your body, right? It goes into the fact of, well, are you craving sugar because your body actually needs to refuel? Or are you craving sugar because, you know, you're addicted to it and your body just wants it? Because then you get into the realm of over-consuming sugar. And then that's what happens when you over-consume sugar and carbs. Then it stores as fat. And just to clarify another point for all you 2.5 listeners.
I know.
Hi, Hector. I don't really know who that is. But anyway. Carbs get such a bad rap.
It could be my mom. Right? Gustavo Bilar. Somebody. I don't know.
Take shots. Oh, people.
I love you both. I love you both.
Yeah, well, I love you, Mom. But anyway. Yeah, so point is that carbs sometimes, most of the time, get such a bad rap and they get labeled as the enemy. But the reality of it is because people are over consuming them. You know, and when you're over consuming anything, even protein, the body will store it as fat. You know, so I think carbs are extremely important, especially for an athlete, especially for somebody who's training multiple times a day, especially for an instructor who's teaching multiple classes a day, you know? Even if you're weight training once a day, 4 times a week, I think carbs are very important. But it's the overconsumption that people tend to kind of get wrong, right? And I think out of the 3 categories, protein, carbs, and fats, there are more choices. Carbs have the most variety, right? You have vegetables, they're carbs. You have fruit, those are carbs. You know, you have pasta, you have rice, you have potatoes. Those are all carbs. You know, sugar, again, sugar is a carb. You cannot have sugar without carbs, but you can have carbs without sugar. Does that make sense? You can have a product that has carbohydrates but no sugar. You cannot have a product that has sugar that has no carbs. It's a subcategory. Just for the people that, you know. Are you with me so far?
No.
Okay.
I'm thinking that Hershey's. So it's.
You're certainly gonna watch me eat it.
Oh, just grab it now. Might as well. I can tell you this. For me in training, you know, we're talking about overtraining in the last video of sometimes your body has cravings. You crave sugar. He was talking about going on a hike and then after just down some Coke.
That's
Coca-Cola.
Yeah, thank
you. On a slushie, and he felt energized right after. For me, sometimes at night, I have those late night cravings where
terrible recovery.
where I'm hungry, or I'm not even really hungry. I'm just craving something like sugar. But for me, instead of getting something that might be a healthy version of sugar, even at night, which is probably not the best thing to do, is I go to the gas station and
Let's take a 20-second timeout. Go ahead.
I thought I was doing good. I was on a roll.
No, go ahead, go. You're at the gas station. What are you getting? I'll tell you what you're getting. You're getting hot chips, putting lime and sauce, hot sauce on.
Not gonna lie, salivated right now. For any Latinos out there, you know what I'm talking about. And donuts and like gas station snacks, and then I regret it right after because I've either overindulged or there's just a bunch of bad snacks, or I somehow, for some reason, think of Lou, and I'm like, oh my God, Lou, his career, you know.
First of all,
what career? So it's the fact of I'll mess up and then I backtrack. And even though I was craving that because of overtraining, or even I'm too strict on a diet and I started too hard too fast.
Or you're a sugar addict.
That too. And sugar is an addiction. It is a drug in a sense, and for
not in a sense.
In a sense. So fight me. So
now?
we could. So fighting for the Hershey's bar.
Pretty confident. Good.
Oh yeah. All he's gonna do is wrestle me. Anyways.
Yeah, I did make you tap one time. Go ahead. No, keep going.
All right.
Keep going.
So, lost my train of thought. I got upset. So,
So yeah, carbs and sugar, the worst time to have it is bedtime. Now, let's just clarify that real quick. Carbs and sugar, certain kinds of sugar, natural reoccurring sugar, I think is a better way to discuss this. Fruit is a carb, but it's sugar, but it's naturally reoccurring. Coca-Cola is a sugar, but it's not natural. They're adding sugar to it. So honey is a natural reoccurring sugar source. So as long as you keep the sugars as naturally reoccurring sugars, but still keeping them fairly low, you do not need, 300 grams of sugar in a day. You don't. And I can't even answer the question as to, well, what do you recommend? Well, it's how much are you working out? How active are you? So it varies from person to person.
How's your health? Are you diabetic? And
that's a whole nother ballgame. I mean, again, that's a good point. People who do struggle with diabetes, type 1 or type 2, it's very serious and you need to take it serious. But before bed, regardless of where you're at with your fitness level, best shape, worst shape, training as a fighter, not training as a fighter, no carbs, no sugar before bed because it's going to store as fat. It wants to be utilized for fuel, especially sugar. Whether it's immediately or delayed, it wants to be utilized. And if it's not utilized, it's going to get stored as fat. So what I've found over the years of working with, people who are just working out, like I hate the word normal, but like normal people that go to the gym and they lift weights, they do a little cardio.
Average Joe?
Yeah, that's okay, sure. Or average Josephine. Let's be politically correct. Yeah. Blazer. Michelle. Anyway, so whether you are the average, Joe or Josephine, because we'll be politically correct, and you are weight training and just doing cardio, or you're taking one class, a SoulCycle class, or a yoga class, or something like that, you still do need carbs for sure. But then when you are the high level athlete where you're training multiple times a day, or if you're the person taking this SoulCycle class versus the instructor who's teaching multiple classes in a day, their carb and sugar intake is dramatically different. And what I've seen in both cases is the people that aren't doing as much work consume as much carb and sugar as the athlete or the person who's doing the more work. And what you're left with is an abundance of body fat. You'll see more body fat. You won't ever utilize fat for fuel because it's just constantly getting stored. So you're not even using that sugar, it's just storing.
That's the crazy thing. Again, there's different types of sugars, natural sugar, chemically made sugar, man-made sugar, how your body's reacting to all of it, your health, what you're doing as your profession, your natural daily schedule, and everything's completely different. Not one figure works. Maybe there might be a general figure where you can take pieces apart from it,
sure, but
it might not work for you. So you said, like for example, fruit's a natural current sugar, honey, what else?
But so, and to piggyback off of that as well, and not all fruit is equal. Not all fruit is the same. There's some fruit that is really good at anti-inflammatory properties.
Bananas. It's a lot of sugar.
Yeah, and some is fast acting, like oranges. If you were to eat an orange, you're not going to get that sugar immediately. It's going to be slightly delayed. But if you were to eat some pineapples, you would get it immediately. So really, it's just about doing the research on what spikes blood sugar levels immediately and then what's delayed. You have simple carbs and complex carbs, right? The simple is the one that's going to give it to you now, and the complex is the one that's going to give it to you later. And that's another video because there's so many misconceptions and theories, like, like runners, they eat a big bowl of pasta the night before, because we're not getting into that, but it's not necessarily about the sugar options. It's about when you're utilizing it. And it's also, again, ties back to our other video, and this is not a promo to get you to watch that video too, but
link on top of your head. No.
But it does, because like we said in the last video, and we're saying again, we know that sugar is a very addictive substance. So the hard thing is your body will tell you when it needs that sugar, but you have to filter out, is it telling you need the sugar because you really need it or because you're actually craving it, And the best way to combat the cravings is making sure that you're having complete meals and snacks, protein, carb, and fat. The carb is actually lower in sugar and the fat's lower in saturated fat. That will actually calm the cravings. Having fruit with almonds or cashews, protein, carb, and fat as a snack, you're going to get some sugar, natural reoccurring sugar. So you'll be able to calm and stop some of those cravings. And what it also does is it gives you maximum recovery, in my opinion, maximum recovery and performance. I know just from speaking with, again, using the Soul Cycle as an example, one of the best instructors in the world, right? Charlie, who teaches at Soul Cycle. For years, I was trying to get her to get a little bit better with her nutrition because I kind of tried to explain to her, like, you don't understand, you're a high level athlete because you are working your butt off and you are flying through calories.
And she was losing a ton of weight.
And she couldn't, and she could eat a lot of food, but it's not about eating a lot of food. It's about getting the replenishment. So that's why I have her, like, after she teaches classes, I'll have her drink like a Vitargo, which is a phenomenal product, fast acting sugar. I have her taking a little honey before it, like, we mapped out her whole week. Like, there's some days where she teaches 1 class, 3 classes, 2 classes. And it's strategically placed. Okay, this class you're going to have honey before. This class you're going to have that Vitargo after. This class you're going to actually have a Gatorade. So there's a time and a place, and now her recovery is better. Her performance, listen, that girl is something special. Like, she could be malnourished, not eating for a week, and she's still going to teach the best class because that's just the mindset, right? You've been dehydrated, malnourished, you're still going to outperform people, right? But now when you're getting the right sugar and the right nutrients and the right carbs, your recovery, you're just going to be able to perform that much better.
And now you're competing at 100%. Again, as he's talking about cycling, the runners, your carb intake, your sugar intake is completely different depending on the task, depending on how you're using it to recover, how to fuel yourself throughout the day. If it's the morning, the afternoon, the night, late night snack, whatever the case may be, or you're just having a craving, how to be able to figure it out. And again, that is an extremely complex type of thing.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, everyone naturally thinks if you're vegan, if you're vegetarian, if you're on a certain diet, if you're on certain things, oh, this is healthier. Well, the crazy thing is, yeah, apples might be good for you in the morning, but if you eat, 5-10 apples on that one dose, it can technically be the same thing as drinking a Coke.
Well,
or
100%. Yeah, 100%. And just to take it a step further with the vegan and the vegetarian, people automatically assume that vegans and vegetarians are healthy, and most are, but sugar's vegan, sugar's vegetarian, and sugar is not a good product to have, a good nutrient to have at certain times. You know what I mean? So just because you are eating healthier, you can still be malnourished or deficient, especially in sugar. So you have to be real strategic with when you are doing it. Like, I have a client now, a female client who is a diabetic. And she just wants to exercise. She's not, she's not a fighter. She's not, an instructor. She just wants to live her life, feel good. And I'm teaching her how to manage her sugar levels and utilizing better food choices when her sugar dips and we need to spike it. And understanding, look, this just caused a massive spike. So then we need to stay away from that. That's why, again, like, sugar as a statement, it's too vague. Carbohydrate as a statement is too vague. But it gets such a bad rap because people gain so much weight, or people who are really heavy. Everything that you consume that the body doesn't use will store as fat, specifically carbs and sugar. And then a frequent question, because you brought this up, like, all right, Lou, well, what if I train at night? You just said that you want sugar afterward. Yes. However, if you're training late at night and you're going to be going to bed pretty soon after, you don't need to put sugar into your body after that workout, because as long as you had the right nutrition leading up to, your rest and recovery is more important. Protein and fat before bed.
And everyone is different. Again, specific goals, but also if you're trying to gain weight, maintain weight, and lose weight. Again, we're talking about Charlie. If you're teaching so many classes, but you're not eating carbs, you're losing weight, but that wasn't her goal.
Correct. She's flying through so many calories, right? So you have this is what's going on. And not to pick on her or use her as an example, but I think it's a great example, for many reasons, and we got nothing but love for her. But anyway, she's trying to be and wants to be in the best shape of her life physically, because her job's very demanding, right? You've taken classes, I've taken classes.
And a good one.
It's a very high impact, but a phenomenal class that burns a lot of calories. So calories out versus calories in, yes, is important, but it's when you're at that level, And when you're at your level, professional fighter, professional athlete, it's not just about calories in and calories out. It's about what calories are coming in to help replenish what calories went out, you know? And the hard thing for me as the weight management specialist, somebody who's trying to help somebody like yourself or Charlie or whoever.
Keyword trying.
A massive keyword, is that we have to play this game of, again, figuring out, well, are you craving this because, you know, you're just addicted to it? Or is your body really, really requiring it and needs it? You know, so what I like to do is figure out, like, we look at your schedule as a whole, right? Like we always do when we, you know, getting into camp, like, all right, what days are you going to work out? What times? What's going to be your hard workout? You know, and then strategically plug in the places of when we have, you know, honey or fast acting sugar or black rice. And so yeah, exactly. And I think that's the problem people make is they just go in blindly, or they're like, you know, I'm going to go in and I'm going to train and I'm going to eat healthy. And listen, two things, you know, she eats healthy, but she also eats a lot of food. She can eat a lot of food, you know, and she's not thin. To me, she's fit now. Like, she's really in phenomenal shape, you know, she's fit, she's an athlete. But the solution, other people would tell her, like, you know, maybe when she was a little thinner, just eat more. And you've been with her, like, she can eat a lot of food. She has a good appetite. That's not going to do it because it's not replenishing what you're utilizing. The body's just going to take what it needs from whatever you're giving it and then get rid of the rest. Like, she can crush, you know, a double hamburger and French fries and ice cream at midnight and go right to sleep and not gain any weight because her metabolism is really efficient. There's not a ton of sugar in what she just consumed. Her body took what it needed and gets rid of the rest. But now that we're giving it the right sugar at the right times, her recovery is better. You know, her body composition is better for her. And that's the beauty of actually seeing it. Like when we do it with you know, the sugar doping that we do or the honey before workouts. You're like, man, I notice, you know, all the difference in the world when we do this.
And it's crazy for when it comes to carbs. Everyone, I can't have bread, I can't have rice, pasta, I'm gluten intolerant, celiac, whatever the case may be.
Less than 1% of the population actually has celiac disease, so let's calm down. However, gluten does cause inflammation in everybody's body, some more than others. So I don't have celiac disease, and 98% of the time I try to not have any gluten because I just feel better by not having it.
And again, if you're a bodybuilder, depending on what part of the season are you in? Are you in that bulking phase? Or are you eating toast, bread, baked potatoes, stuff like that? But in a person like myself, where I'm now losing all this weight, now instead of having big heavy carbs like rice or sweet potatoes, we're mixing it up and now having more vegetables and more greens.
Yeah. And strategically having fruit, you know, around our workouts, right? Because that's
to compensate for the lost carbs, depending on what we're doing. And the schedule again changes on depending on what type of athlete, what you're doing every single day. For us, we usually focus 2 weeks on cutting weight, and it's very minimal with the carbs because now we're trying to lose as much water, and the carbs hold the water as well. But look at that. Don't you tell me a lot. So it's a fact of being able to, one, listen to your body, but also
so you know how to take blood out of people?
Yeah. Oh God, I gotta edit this. But it's also trying to figure out. I have my blood drawn a lot. Anyways,
don't you?
Yeah, I'm not suing any companies though, but you know.
Wow.
Oh God. So I was waiting for that. You know?
Yeah, well, I know. Yeah, I know all about it.
I don't know what else I'm talking about. But,
I don't remember.
All right, so. We're having too much fun here. So when it comes to what your specific goals are, you really have to listen to your body and even sometimes ask for help. Ask a coach, ask a nutritionist, ask a dietitian, ask Lou.
Right, because I'm none of those.
You know, as someone, definitely not your mother or grandmother because they're going to try to feed you.
Yeah. Make notes, right? Like what I tell people too is, you know, when you're trying to follow a protocol and you're eating healthy and you're exercising, again, regardless of level of athlete or whatever, make notes, you know, write down when you're working out, write down what you had and write down how you felt because you'll start to see patterns. You know, you'll start to pick up like, man, you know, I noticed that my 7 p.m. workout, I am dragging, I have zero energy. All right, well, what did you eat before that? Well, that didn't have much carbs, didn't have much sugar. Are you having anything before? What did you have after, right? Great example was even myself. Years ago when I was really just strictly weight training, I was doing no cardio because I wanted to put on a little bit more size, a little more lean muscle mass. And the way that I was taught before I got really educated was like, post-workout, you want to, protein. You got to eat a lot of protein, drink a lot of protein. So we would have these phenomenal shakes, by the way. I can give you the recipe. It's great. But I'm not. But, phenomenal shakes. But they were more protein than anything else, right? More protein. It had carbs, it had fat, it had sugar, but it was more protein than anything else, protein dominant. And then when I got more educated and became a certified weight management specialist working under one of 600, sports registered dietitians, and he taught me so much about sports nutrition, it was actually the opposite. The most important nutrient post-workout is carbs, not protein. So I switched at the time, right? I switched to a 4-to-1 ratio where it was 4 times the amount of protein. So both have 4 calories. So 1 gram of protein, I was having 4 grams of carbs. So I would usually do like 20 to 30 grams of protein, right? So then my carbs would be 80 grams to, 120, isn't that right? 4 times 3 is 120. Anyway, I did that, and you know what happened? My recovery was 10 times better. I felt better in my next workout. So it's really important that you make notes and you understand, because again, not only will your body tell you, but now your notes are going to tell you, wait a second, there's a pattern here. Every day at this time, I feel I have no energy. Right. Well, then that's when we're going to plug in. Maybe we have a little honey before the workout, or have a few slices of pineapple before the workout, or maybe it's your post-workout recovery that needs to get better, like a product like Vitargo. Again, in Charlie's case, getting her to use the product, because sometimes, and even, when you're training so much, just eating all that food is just not really realistic. So sometimes it's just better to slam down a shake, right? And having a good product like that, and we're not sponsored by them or anything like that, but
call me.
That'd be great. But it does make all the difference in the world. That's the point that I'm getting at. Anyway.
So for like Charlie, she was losing weight accidentally because she wasn't helping her body with it when it comes to the carbs, when it comes to the sugar, and maybe, just maybe, her performance or even attitude during some of the classes might have been affected. For me in wrestling in college, I, again, was trying to cut so much weight weekly that, and again, this is a whole other video when it comes to overeating and how eating could be, in a sense, an addiction. For me, and even disorders. For me, I was thinking, carbs hold water, so I need to stop holding carbs, because every week for wrestling, you make weight every week, every Friday or Saturday, depending on the tournaments or the events, so you wouldn't eat any carbs. And the problem was, I'm working out 3 times a day. At the time, I ran about 8 to 9 miles every single day. And that was with 8 pounds of clothes, sauna top and bottom. It was ridiculous. If I had to do it again, I would not do it. Like, if I had to repeat my life, I would not. Right. But it's the fact of, in the middle of the day, I was so de-energized that I just didn't want to do anything. And it wasn't because of my mental state. Yeah, obviously your body, however your body's reacting, it's going to go to your mind's going to just correlate, keep on going back and forth. I might have not been mentally 100% there, but I was like, cool, I'm at practice. I know what I got to do. It's only 2 hours. I had my little cup of water with me, and I felt at the time that all I needed was just water. Yeah. The only problem was I had no energy, and your main energy source is carbs and sugar. So for me, I was like, no bread, no pasta, no anything. Oh, cool, I'm going to have a handful of vegetables, but I wasn't, again, dosing like we do now when it comes to the sugar dope. And when it comes to, hey, you're doing this practice, maybe have a couple of almonds, and maybe have some of this, have some of that, where you're trying to correlate and correspond to your body and go, this is what I kind of need right now. Or even sometimes even just like a mental boost,
100%.
Your mind can make you do things your body doesn't want to do. And for me, the only problem was, I could only do it so long because I was doing it every single day. Mm-hmm. So even though Monday I was like, cool, no carbs, I could do it, and I had the energy or at least mental state to do it. By the time Wednesday came,
you were already driving.
I was exhausted.
Yeah, and it's just to go back to one point that you made to clarify something, and it's not to clarify it for why it might sound. It's to clarify it to make a point, right? 1 or 2 things happen when you're not replenishing with the right carbs and the right sugar at the right time, right? You mentioned, possibly Charlie's classes may have suffered, and here's what's crazy. None of her classes suffered because of how much she puts into her classes, right? What ends up happening is 1 or 2 things. Either, yes, your performance will suffer, right? Your performance absolutely will suffer. Or, in her case, her performances never suffered, but it was after the fact. When she got off the bike, when she would come home, when she would, in between, her body would feel it so much. So to her riders, she's in great shape. She never looks like she falters because she just taps into that and taps into it. It's part of what they do, tap back, right? But, and that's almost worse. It's almost worse because in your mind, you're like, well, I'm doing great. Like, I'm giving it all I got. Yeah, but you're suffering afterwards. Now we don't have to suffer anymore. Or the opposite will happen, where your performance will suffer, and we really just want to tackle both. It's great that, okay, your performance is phenomenal, but if you feel like, not so great afterwards, well, then that's an issue. We need to address it. And then we have to definitely address it if your performance is not where it needs to be, So just because your performance isn't being hindered at the time, how do you feel afterwards? And that's why it becomes even more important.
So you have to figure out what you're doing before. If you have a certain workout and how hard the workout's going to be, how strenuous it's going to be, maybe you manipulate the carbs a little bit. Maybe you have a little more. Maybe your workouts come in very, very soon and you want a snack. Cool, let's have something where it's kind of corresponding to that, but you're not overeating and now you're bloated for a workout. And carbs is, for me, I'm one of those guys that eat, a handful of chips and I'm like, screw it, I'm eat the rest of the chips anyways. But, and now I'm super bloated and there's so many things behind it. But again, not eating carbs at night, or at least...
Yeah, no carbs, no sugar within it. I would say a good safe zone is like within 2 hours before you go to bed, definitely no carbs, no sugar. Pre-workouts, right? By definition, my pre-workouts, not like the garbage products that you buy or anything. A pre-workout could simply be just a little bit of honey, a little bit of maple syrup, a couple pieces of pineapple, a couple pieces of watermelon, some cherries, some berries, something like that before, right? Now, if you are going to exercise, and I'm talking actually exercise, not like what I do, like actually work, and if you're going to go 60 minutes or more, water is not sufficient. Water by itself is not. So you could even put a little honey in your water. You could put a little Gatorade in your water. Gatorade's not the worst product in the world. It's actually really good when you're active. If you and I were to just be sitting on the couch watching TV, sipping on a Gatorade, horrible. If we just go and we just hit mitts.
So what we did earlier.
Yeah, exactly. What's in this cup right now? Hold on a second. So you can, again, if you're really actually working and you're going 60 minutes or more, I want you to maybe have something in your water that's giving you electrolytes and a little bit of sugar. And then post class, we want fast acting, So again, pineapples, watermelon. One of my favorites, right? Pineapple juice with plant-based protein powder is another good, good recovery. The Vitargo with just water is another good recovery.
So if you guys have any questions, again, message this guy on Instagram at Loutrition. And if you have any questions for me, yeah, sure, I guess why not. If you have
how are you?
Yeah, exactly. Comments, questions. Hi, Mom. Comments, questions, leave them below. And if you have any more questions about carbs, sugar, when to take them, how to take them, what you think is good, bad, whatever the case may be, or just want to talk smack to Lou, leave them in the comments below. This was another episode of Inside Team Shorty with my special guest, Loutrition, and
AKA Casting Couch.
Take care.